Hey guys, Jeremy here with Unmistakably Star Wars, and it's hard to imagine we are just a few weeks out from The Mandalorian. And as we're getting closer to the show premiering on Disney Plus on November 12th, it's a Tuesday, probably night, you start to wonder, like, okay, what exactly is going to be in this show? What can I expect? And so I wanted to, before we got into sort of the review cycle when The Mandalorian shows up, I wanted to talk a little bit about what are we expecting exactly, and maybe even what do we hope for? So I picked 5 things that kind of combine those two ideas, expectations and our hopes. So here is the 5 expectations and hopes for The Mandalorian. Number 1 is really interesting, and this is not in any real order. I mean, they all kind of are important, I think, to fans in general, but especially to me and some of the crew at Unmistakably Star Wars. And the first is, and I think everyone would agree with this, we want and we expect and we hope for engaging characters that are not only just engaging on just a story level, but expand the universe and kind of delve into areas that we don't normally see in film. And we have the Mandalorian himself, played by, Pedro Pascal, but we also have a character like Gina Carano's Cara Dune, I believe. And she's this former rebel shock trooper. What a fascinating character. And hopefully, Gina Carano can bring something to the Star Wars mythos that we haven't quite seen before. And not only that, we have actors like Nick Nolte. We don't know who exactly he's playing, although there's rumors out there of who he'll be playing, and from that 30-minute preview recently, there was some talk about, maybe he is somebody you don't expect. My gut is that he's playing, probably a motion capture character, digitally created character. But we have Giancarlo Esposito from Breaking Bad playing, this Moff Gideon, who, of course, was a governor under the Empire. What a fascinating idea. And we have the Aftermath book series, but it's really going to be interesting to see what the TV shows do. And he is a character that, I mean, my goodness, we're really interested in seeing how that plays into the Star Wars mythos, the Star Wars galaxy. And so I think one of the things fans are hoping for, and quite frankly, we're expecting, is that there's these new rich characters that's going to sort of expand, the Star Wars galaxy for us and the palette that we're using to tell these stories. And it's exciting to think about. The other thing that I was sort of considering as something I'm expecting and hoping for is sort of fleshing out the story after Return of the Jedi. We know The Mandalorian is set, 5 years after Return of the Jedi. And we do have Chuck Wendig's, Aftermath series, but not everyone reads the books. And that series while it covered a lot of ground, it didn't cover everything, right? And so, we know The Mandalorian is on the outer fringes of the galaxy. I'm not sure if it's wild space, outer rim territories. I'm not sure exactly where the story will be and where it will take place. But it's exciting to think about, what happened in the galaxy when Palpatine fell. Literally and figuratively, right? So, what's going on, what is, happening in the galaxy. We got an interview recently on Entertainment Weekly with, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni about the origins of the First Order, that the Mandalorian will rub shoulders with those ideas. And quite frankly, that's exciting. I think a lot of fans have been clamoring for that and hoping to get something about the First Order more than what we've seen in the books like, Bloodline, Claudia Gray's book. And so hopefully we'll get some more of that with the Mandalorian. But that idea of fleshing out the story, these 30 years between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens hasn't been played with that much. It's been left relatively alone. And so I think a lot of fans, me included, were hoping to get some more information, like what's going on in the galaxy afterwards. The third thing that I'm hoping for, and maybe some fans are expecting, is sort of the obvious thing. And that is the underworld. bounty hunting. You know, we have Carl Weathers' character is Grief Karga, I believe, and what a fascinating kind of guild master for bounty hunters. And I think a lot of fans, you know, you look at Tales from Jabba's Palace from like the old, you know, EU Legends days. I think we want that as fans. We want to explore the nooks and crannies of the galaxy and the underworld, and I think The Mandalorian is going to provide that for us in spades. It has that Western vibe. It has that frontier vibe. It also, you know, from what we're hearing, you know, the galaxy's sort of fallen apart, and, you know, the New Republic is trying to put things back together again. And so, you know, there's a lot that's unsettled. And so that unease will probably permeate The Mandalorian. And I think a lot of people are expecting that and are hoping for that, and that exploration of the underworld. The fourth thing might be my personal top one, and it's because my interest with Star Wars kind of always go there, and that is the Force. Obviously, you know, Luke's doing his thing. I highly doubt Luke Skywalker will show up in The Mandalorian, but I think fans really appreciate Star Wars when the Force is involved, and I think a lot of people are hoping for that. We, you know, in the, you know, the lead up, there's that potentiality that maybe you'll see something like an Inquisitor. And I think people are kind of like wondering, you know, is there any Force users other than the ones we know of, you know, out on the fringes of the galaxy? And I think that would add a lot to the story. It doesn't have to be the centerpiece of the story. I don't think we want that for The Mandalorian. We have the Kenobi series coming out. And so that's one of the things that I think would be really cool to see, is just kind of, you know, bumping up against the Force a little bit. And, you know, that mystical side of things would be pretty cool. So that's the fourth thing. That's the kind of thing that I would love to see. I'm hoping to see some sort of interaction with that. Maybe mention of Luke Skywalker. I also think, and this sort of goes hand in hand with number 4. Number 5 is, we know it is going to happen to an extent, and that is involving legends in the EU in The Mandalorian. I mean, we have the gun the Mandalorian's using, which showed up, of course, in the, you know, the holiday special for Star Wars back in the day, in the animated little short within that. So we know we're going to get some things, creatures, designs, but I think fans are really hoping for, and I think Filoni and Favreau is going to reward a lot of the fans that have done those deep dives into the books, into Legends, into the EU, and hopefully we'll see some of that. These elements showing up within the series. You know, I would love to see mention of things that we know of from years past in Star Wars storytelling. So those are the sort of the 5 things I think we're hoping for, and I think we're expecting. What about you? In the comments, just let us know, like, what are you hoping for? What are you expecting? What do you want from The Mandalorian? And we're about to, you know, venture into a kind of a new age with Star Wars and storytelling as we go into Disney Plus and The Mandalorian. We know it starts November 12th. We know there's 8 episodes. It'll run all the way up to about the end of the year. The first is on a Tuesday, but then most will be showing up on Fridays, with the exception of right around The Rise of Skywalker's release. We'll see, I think it bumped back to a Wednesday. That Thursday night, people go see the movie. Of course, its official premieres on a Friday. So other than that little moment, the shows will be, you know, coming on Disney Plus on Fridays, which is going to be really interesting to see. It's right around the corner. It's going to be a fun time for Star Wars fans to see what is next and what's going to happen next within Star Wars storytelling. Hey, thanks for watching. See you guys.